If you want to make videos for YouTube, then I cannot recommend highly enough the software called Ecamm Live for the Mac. It's what I use to make all of the videos on my channel. Now, some people don't realize that the channel is called TAKEONETECH because I do make all of my videos in one take with no edits, more or less. There are a couple that I might have to make some minor tweaks to, but generally they're all one take video productions. So what I want to do today is actually go through my production process and talk about Ecamm Live and show you just how easy it is to get up and running with Ecamm. Now, I should say that I do have a complete Ecamm Live masterclass all about everything to do with Ecamm. So if you are finding this useful, then definitely go and check that out. And the best part is it is absolutely free. And just to clarify why that is, because some people might think, what's the catch? The reason is I've just got so many other courses and an entire ecosystem with the Digital Stage Academy now as well, that this just serves as a way to show people what to expect from my other courses. And it is my hope that maybe one or two people who go through the free Ecamm Live masterclass may well then go on to buy some of my other courses. So it really genuinely is a complete masterclass covering everything from beginner through to expert level of Ecamm. No stone left unturned. 20 modules, over 150 lessons, but we've got some quick start guides in there to really get you up to speed as well. So that's the free Ecamm Live masterclass. I'll talk about it a bit more and give you a sort of tour of it a little bit later. But let's get into talking about exactly what Ecamm is then, shall we? And what I'll do is I'll start by just using a feature of Ecamm, which is called Live Demo Mode, which enables me to show you exactly what I'm seeing on my screen. Now, there's not much going on there, is there? It is quite a bare screen. You can see, obviously, this is the output that you were just seeing. And then I've also got this one, which I always leave on there, which shows me my different sound levels. So the thing about Ecamm is it can be as simple as as complex as you want. You're not starting off with a load of different screens and things like that you have to deal with. It is just a case of you can use whatever you want as you go along. So I'm going to start with just bringing up my scenes window. Let me just activate one other thing for me here right now. And then I'm going to also activate what is called the overlays window. So just to explain what these are, think of scenes as different sort of views that you've got, different scenes in your production. So you might have one which is the one that I've got here right now, which is where I'm obviously just my camera is on there. The next scene that I might have is something like this, where I'm sharing a screen. And just to come out of the live demo mode, you can see what that looks like for you there. Or you may have different scenes with different camera angles. So for example, I've got my side camera just over here, so that is another scene. So that's what scenes are. Scenes are those different sort of views that you've got of your content. Then you've got overlays, which is this window over here. And these are all of the elements that are in the screen. So you can see that I've got my camera here. Well, that is what's known as a camera overlay. So we can just show and hide that. There you can see what's going on in the background. But the background itself is made up of a number of different overlays. So I've got that thing going on at the top there. I've also got this little animation playing over the top, and then we've got a scene background. So we're really starting with a blank canvas, and then you can sort of build this up in layers to really create these different scenes and different looks that you've got. Just to show you how easy it is to build something out then, if I just go ahead and create a new scene, I'm just going to hit the little new scene button just up here. Just one second, just reset something here. And then you can see that if I click new scene, it's going to start with actually start with a blank scene. But because I've got these overlays, I want them to apply to all of the different layers, sorry, all the different scenes in the background. You've got these different areas where you can have things show up. So in the overlays window, you can either show things that are in the background, which means they're going to be in the background of every single scene, or you've got things that can show up in the current scene, or you can also have things that appear over the top of everything. So for example, I've got a little animation here, so this thing here could fly out and I could have that appear on every scene. It doesn't quite work there because I've not got my camera over the top of it, but you get the idea. So those are the different ways that you can have these overlays in there. So let's just start then. So it seems like we've got this sort of blank canvas. If I want to add on my camera, I can just use these buttons here to add either camera overlays, screen shares, text, and widgets and so on. So let's just add a camera overlay. Just like that. And this is how easy it is to actually create different scenes, because I could just have something set up like this. Let's say I want to do a screen sharing scene. I can come in here, change things like the aspect ratio. It's really quick and easy to sort of build these out. Maybe I've got something like that. And then perhaps I want to have a screen share over on the other side. So clicking on the little screen share button just down here. Now you can see that I've got a screen share that's sharing a part of my screen. I can select which specific delay I want, which specific display I want to share. So let's give that one a go. And now you can see that I've got my whole desktop here, but maybe I just want to share a portion of this. So I can hold down the Option key and just crop into the area of that I want to share. So really quick and easy. I've used a number of other pieces of software before, but this is by far the most simple and straightforward one that allows you to do these things really quickly. There are also other hardware switches that you can get, such as Ecamm and things like that, Ecamm Mini. I've not personally used one of those, but I did a lot of research about them before I arrived on Ecamm, and I've also had a lot of coaching calls with people who are using them. And I just find that compared to that, the ease with which you can create these things in Ecamm is just frankly unparalleled. So now you can see that I've got this screen sharing scene that I have just set up in a matter of seconds, really, if I wasn't actually talking and doing it at the same time. And now here's what that looks like. So it's really quick and simple to build these things out. So let's go and have a look at a couple of other things then. If I go back into my demo mode, maybe we want to have some sort of animation over the top. So here I've got a number of different animation files, which are essentially, I just go back to this one. Essentially, these are just little promo animations and things like that. So for example, this one here is just a little movie file. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I always forget to tell people that. So here I'm actually telling you, don't forget to give it a like if you're finding this useful. But these are just little movie files. You can just drag and drop things into Ecamm. If I want to add an image in, then you can use the little icon down here to click to add an image or a new animation. But let me just go and open up my Finder. I probably should have done this before, but let me just go and grab any random image just to show you how easy it is to drag and drop it. Why not? Don't I just get a random Adobe stock image and see what this looks like. Here you go. This is completely irrelevant, but I'm just going to simply drag and drop an image. So if I did want a picture of a mountain, just like that, you can just simply drag and drop that in there. One of the things about being able to create these different background thing, so the show in background, is that if you did want to create a completely new look and feel to all of your scenes, if I just sort of flick through some of these scenes for a second, you can see that they've all got that same background going on in there with all of those different things. Hello, Keely, I just flashed up the Zoom window there. You can see that we've got that same background going on in all of those scenes. Well, if I want to change up the sort of look of the background, let me go and grab a different Adobe stock image. So how about this bright, colorful one? You'll see that if I just drag and drop this image here, but I'm going to put it as show in background, you can see that now we've suddenly replaced the background in all of our scenes. So as I flick through these, we've got a completely new sort of look to the whole thing, because all of the elements in the scene, all of the different overlays are exactly where they were before. However, we've just swapped out that background for this colored background there. You can also add animations. As you can see, I've got a bit of an animation going on in there already. But if I just go and find a different one here, I'm going to just go and find a movie file. And let's see, one of these ones. I'll just use this. Here we go. If I drop this one in here, in fact, I'll put it in there in the background. You can see that now I've just got this different moving background going on. And so now I've just, as simple as that, changed the look of all my scenes to include that background there. So it's really simple to actually build the scenes that you want. And if you think about the content that you're likely to make, let me just turn those off and get back to how I was. If you think about the content that you're trying to make, obviously the content that I make for YouTube is pretty much me sitting down here doing what I'm doing. I'm not doing like travel vlogging or anything like that. So of course it is going to be specific to people who are more sort of studio based or home based who are doing these kind of things. But if you're wanting to record videos to camera, information type channels, as I'm doing, and indeed do screen shares and things like that, then it's a really powerful tool for that. Other things that you can do are things like, obviously I'm highlighting the screen when I'm talking, so there's a few other tools that I use for that. So Pro Mouse is the tool that I'm using here to highlight things on the screen. There's also other tools with Pro Mouse, so I can spotlight things on the screen as well. If I find the button for it, there we go. So I can spotlight and highlight, do the two together. So to be able to demonstrate things and show them, ProMouse is a great tool that goes with it. ProMouse is a Mac application as well. Obviously, Ecamm is Mac. But another tool then that is great is this tool called Video Pencil, which is something else that I use with Ecamm as well. And if I just get back to the right page on Stream Deck, I'll talk about Stream Deck in a moment. But Video Pencil is an app that you have on your iPad. And what it allows you to do is, first of all, see the output from Ecamm. So I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing here on my iPad. If I was in a different scene, you would see that I would then see that on my iPad. But then the genius part is that I can then write on my screen on my iPad, and this is going to come through into the production. So if I want to write here, for example, I'm seeing exactly where I'm writing. It used to be that there were a load of workarounds to try to get your pen writing on iPad to come into things like Ecamm and OBS. But the trouble was you were always having to sort of guess where it was you were drawing. The genius move of this is Ecamm is transmitting the video into here because of the way that Michael Forrest, who designed Video Pencil, set it up so that we can actually see where we're drawing and get really accurate. So if I wanted to draw around my microphone, for example, then you can see how I can be really accurate if I wasn't trying to hold it and do it at the same time. Maybe if I put it down on the desk. But you get the idea. It's really great for sort of telestration, that thing of writing on the screen. So if you are doing screen demos, Video Pencil and Ecamm is an absolute amazing combination. It's also great with Ecamm that you can use it with Zoom, and there's an Ecamm for Zoom integration. So it means that you can actually pull people out of Zoom now and bring them into your production into Ecamm. So if you're doing a video podcast or something like that, you can use it that way. If you're doing live events, you can use the Ecamm for Zoom integration to pull people in. So maybe I can just show you exactly how that works. So back over here, as well as these scenes, we can set up another scene. So if I've got this one here, that was the one that we created for screen sharing, let me just go ahead and create another one. And all we're going to do is add in our camera again. So we've got our camera there. And let's say that we want to have a guest in this show. What we can do is just hold down the Option and drag. This is how easy it is to work with Ecamm. It's kind of amazing. It's only when I do these demos that I realize, oh yeah, that's the reason why I use it. It is actually just phenomenally easy compared to other pieces of software. By the way, I always say I lost my last hair using OBS. So anybody who's currently using OBS, if you've got any sort of frustration, generally Ecamm will solve those for you. But then here I can just come to this pencil icon and I could select any of my other cameras. So I've got different cameras connected here, my top-down shot there, this one here, various different cameras connected. But what you can also do is select these guests down here. So you've got guest 1 to 10. Ecamm has its own what's called interview mode built in, and that allows you to basically send a link out to somebody. If I just activate the interview mode window here, you would have a little link down here that you send out to people, and then that is going to allow them to come and join in the browser and be brought into Ecamm. But relatively recently, a few months ago this year, Ecamm introduced the new Ecamm for Zoom integration. And the way that that works is when you are in a Zoom meeting, you're going to have anybody that's in the Zoom meeting is going to appear in this little Zoom window down here. And you've got this option to just add that camera to your production. So you're basically taking their camera feed, it's going to appear in that little window, and then you can just simply assign them to that guest 1 slot. And just like that, the person that's in Zoom is now suddenly in your Ecamm. So think about that. Why might that be useful? Well, there's a couple of ways that you can do that, use this rather, which is that let's say you're doing a workshop, maybe a virtual workshop, and so you've got people in the audience, as it were, that are there live in Zoom, but they've got questions, and you want to bring them up onto the digital stage, your virtual stage, because you want to make this available as a replay afterwards. Now, I've been to a lot of workshops before where they say a replay is available afterwards, but what you actually get is just a capture of the Zoom gallery, for example, and so it's not a great experience. Or you get a capture of the active speaker, or maybe the host and their screen share. But again, it's never a great experience because you end up with a slide deck and then maybe somebody's little window box in the corner with their camera. Maybe then people are asking questions, but you don't get to see those people. You don't get to see the interaction. This is a great way that you can just literally have that person come up on the stage next to you. Now, there's another great feature for the Ecamm for Zoom integration, which is that you can actually assign the active speaker to a particular placeholder as well. So that means that if you are going here and we change this to the Zoom active speaker here, What that then does is when you're on a Zoom call and you have this so that if you're the active speaker, they don't pop up. But what you do is you would have everybody muted in Zoom. And then when you get to the Q&A section, you can switch over to this scene. And then basically whoever you unmute to, ask to speak, they're going to automatically pop in here. So there's really no setup that's involved in that. Once you've done the initial setup during the meeting, it's just a case of whoever's the active speaker is going to pop up in here. You could also make a scene if you wanted that was just purely the active speaker. So let's do that and just add in a camera here. If you want to flick over to that person like this, and then you can just change this one to be active speaker. So now all of a sudden you've got a scene where you can go to you. If there's the active speaker, you could switch full screen to them, or you could have you and them speaking together, or maybe they want to do a screen share. Well, you can allow them to basically do their screen share in Zoom, and you can pull their screen share into here, and then maybe you and them are going to be talking about this. So you could create a scene just like this in a matter of seconds that allows you to basically share their screen, and you and them can be on screen at the same time. Just like that. So really, really flexible. The other thing then about the Ecamm for Zoom integration is obviously, I always say obviously, it's not necessarily obvious, is it? That's why I'm talking about it. But anyway, what you can do is run entire live events with this, live virtual events, where maybe you've got your speakers that are coming in using the Ecamm for Zoom integration, and you're just pulling them into the production. So right now, for example, I do have Zoom running in the background, or rather the Ecamm for Zoom integration running, and I could totally just be pulling people up onto the digital stage to come into this live stream out of YouTube. The other thing though is, because this is the Ecamm for Zoom integration, it's all sort of running within Ecamm. Even though I've got something that looks just like the regular Zoom window, it's an instance of it running in Ecamm. But what you can also do though is you can run the original desktop version of Zoom at the same time. And so what you could have is you could have your speakers in Ecamm for Zoom and you're bringing them up onto that digital stage. Meanwhile, you're using the Ecamm Live virtual camera to feed into the regular version of Zoom where your audience is. So you can still have that separation if you want. And incidentally, the virtual camera and the virtual mic that we have in Ecamm just means that all of the production that you do in Ecamm can be fed into any other platform where you normally select your camera and mic. So you can use it with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Discord, Google Meet, and all of those other great places too. So that is getting ahead though, because that's talking about going into meetings, isn't it? And this video was supposed to be about recording, but really the process that we're going through here of just switching scenes, let's take a quick look at how you do that with Stream Deck. Now, by the way, although you may see some pictures of my setup, you don't need all of this stuff to actually start using Ecamm or start creating content. You could be doing this with literally just your laptop, using your laptop's built-in camera. You can select that as your camera source with Ecamm. You could even use your built-in microphone if you wanted it as well. I would recommend, at least having some sort of microphone that's going to give you a better audio quality, and ideally having some sort of headphones that you can monitor things by. But you don't need to have like a full studio setup. If I just do switch though for a moment, I've got my handy little handheld cam here. So you can see that this is my setup that I've got at the moment, and the thing that I'm using to control all of these devices with, or all of Ecamm with, are these Stream Decks. Now I'd say, once again, you don't need to have so many of these, but I would recommend getting at least one Stream Deck, because you likely are thinking about using it for Ecamm, but I can tell you that it is just the ultimate productivity tool aside from that. So when you get one, maybe for streaming or recording, you're going to find that it can do so much more. So here is where I've got all of the different buttons that I use to switch scenes. And so I've got really an excessive amount of scenes. You wouldn't necessarily need all of these, but these ones here, just to show you, these are my different camera angles. So that's the one that I use for my main camera, and I can always just feel where it is. So I don't need to sort of look down at the Stream Deck at all. I can just literally reach down and press the button, and then it's going to go back to that camera. Pressing this button is going to take me back to this one. These ones then are all of my different screen shares. So the way that I have Ecamm set up is I've got this rather ludicrously large 43-inch monitor just up here. And so what I've done is I've set up these different sort of areas of my screen. Let me just move some of these things out of the way. I will move this one over here, and let's get that out of the way too. So I've basically got these 6 different areas of my my screen. So I've got sort of 3 along the top and 3 along the bottom. And what it means is I can sort of see all of the content that I want to share, but I don't have to share it all of the time. And so if I go down to this scene here, which is sharing that top left-hand corner, that's basically just going to share this particular window here. So if I press that, you can see that that's gone to share just that window. If I want to share that top middle one, I press the other button, and now it's sharing this top middle. So you can see what that's looking like on screen, and basically that's what that's sharing just over there. So those are my screen share scenes. So I've got 4 for my different camera angles. There's this one, which is my handheld camera. This is my little top-down camera just there. And then these are the different screen shares. I've then got some other scenes set up for like when I have guests on, although that doesn't happen these days that much, Billy no mates. But I do have some scenes set up like this for me and a guest or 2 guests or 3 guests like this. And then I've also got that one with the Zoom active speaker set up as well. A couple of other things then that I've got down here. I have it's kind of like a whiteboard or maybe a blue board more accurately. So this is somewhere where I can switch to when I just want to maybe draw a diagram or something like that using Video Pencil on the iPad. It means I've got a dedicated scene to use for that. So this is less so in my YouTube videos, but more like on coaching calls or things like that. If we just need to draw a flow diagram or whatever it is, or write something out, then it means that I've got a dedicated scene to do that. So that is what this one is for, and then these others are for when I'm using Keynote with Ecamm, because Ecamm's actually great for doing what I like to call immersive presentations, which is where rather than that thing of in a Zoom call where there's the slide deck and then there's the presenter separately in that little window. Well, what I do is I use the live video feature in Keynote to actually bring my video into Keynote first, and then all of the stuff that happens on screen, sort of bringing in bullet points and stuff like that, is happening around me, with me still, being the one that's actually delivering the content rather than just the little window over at the side. So basically those buttons then that I have on Stream Deck are for those. So that is for basically going into that Keynote scene. And then the left and right is next slide and previous slide in Keynote. This one here is my little one that shows basically that overlay for when I write on screen. So I can press that to show the overlay or hide it. So that's what that one is doing. And then these other ones up along the top are just sort of general controls for Ecamm, starting the video and things like that. And this one here is the little comment scene that I set up. So that is probably a good point to just take a little break and check in with the chat, because we've got that scene set up. So let me just go through with the chat, and I can show you how easy this is to bring in comments. So hello, George, great to see you here. So this is another thing that I should just now show you within Ecamm. You do have this comments and reactions window here. And so this is where I'm getting all of the comments for the live stream. Now, obviously, in a recording context, you're not going to be getting comments in, but this is where you can see all the comments. And as soon as I just click on one of these, hey, Chris, great to see you. Long time no see. Hope everything is all well with you. Indeed, it is. Long time. So you can see that as I'm pressing these buttons, that is just basically replacing that comment up on the screen there. And ProMouse still doesn't work for you. Yeah, people do have some issues with it sometimes. It's funny, I made a video about ProMouse, which again is this one I've got here to sort of highlight the screen. And then I made another 2 videos, which was troubleshooting ProMouse, but it's kind of been working for me. So I did actually set up a button. I don't know if this helps, Chris, if you've had an intermittent issue with it, like where sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I did set up a Stream Deck button, which is a multi-action. Step 1, quit ProMouse. Step 2, delay a second. Step 3, open ProMouse. And I found that quitting it and coming back into it sometimes did work. But in any case, it's still the best one that I found that actually does what I need it to do. So, but yeah, sorry, it's it's not working. So hey there, Norm, great to see you. I loved every bit of your courses. Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm glad you've found them useful. Hope you've had time to dig into the Ecamm course. So there you go. Look, Keely's always ahead of the game. So yeah, Chris, she's just pointing you to the actually to the Discord. Yeah, well, that's a good point to check in as well. Hey, Lawrence, great to see you here as well. And as you can see, I am just going through these comments here. That's what I'm looking off to the side. Normally what I do is I would have this just down below so that it's basically, I've got my comments just down. Whoops, let's get that in focus. Let's see if you can focus on my fat head for a second. There we go. So normally I have my comments down there. So when I'm clicking on those, they are just appearing up in the in that comments section. So let me just go back over here and we'll come out of that mode. You just mentioned TVST. Well, what's that? I might have missed something there. Not quite sure what that one is, Lawrence. Always amazing and easy to understand information. Oh well, thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate that, and I'm really glad that you find it that way. Oh, thanks. I'm glad. The setup has been something that has been a work in progress, and there is a certain amount of gas. The gear acquisition syndrome is something. The point, though, is that it's important not to look at people's setups and feel like you need all of this stuff in order to create content. When I started my YouTube channel, I was using a 10-year-old Canon EOS 60D that had been sitting on a shelf gathering dust for years, and so I just repurposed it. And actually, the majority of my videos still, because I haven't been making as many videos as I made in the early days, the majority of my videos are still basically shot on that camera with a 720p output coming into Ecamm, and Ecamm was basically upscaling it to 1080. The one thing, or no, let me rephrase that, the two things that I had right from day one were a decent mic. Now in that case it was actually the Shure MV7, and I bought this mic at the time because it has both XLR, which is this sort of audio cable connection that you have on microphones, but it also has USB on the bottom as well. Now, as it happens, this is the PodMic USB, and that also has the same feature, which is XLR there, but then also USB. Now, the point about that is it means you've got some potential future-proofing and an upgrade path as well, because I did feel when I started my channel that I was going to want to introduce a mixer into the situation at some point. So this is the Rodecaster Pro 2. This is the audio mixer that I use. It's got some really great advanced audio routing features. So, for example, you know, I've got a Zoom call going at the moment with my backstage channel. So if anything was being said in there, I would be able to hear it, but it's not being routed out into the live stream. So it does allow me to do some sort of quite nice advanced audio routing and audio processing. So I always felt like I was going to want to add something like this into the mix at some point. But the point is, when I started the channel, I wasn't going to just pour a load of money and time and effort into setting everything up. I just wanted to get going. And so buying a microphone that had those dual inputs of XLR or dual outputs, just made sense to me. So that was the first thing, was buying a decent mic. So get away from your built-in mic on your computer certainly would be a smart move. But the other thing that I did buy was a Stream Deck, and it was this very Stream Deck here, in fact, the Stream Deck XL. So this was the first Stream Deck, and it's still the same one that I had then. They don't really break. They don't really become obsolete. You know, I've just added to it. Everything else in the studio, you know, changes, and certainly with video technology that's moving forward. But Stream Decks are, you know, going to last, I won't say a lifetime, but they're certainly going to last a long time, because all it essentially is, it's just a keyboard that effectively, these are just key buttons, but the difference is that they've got these screens on them, which allow you to update them to add different icons. So we've got multiple different pages of actions here. And so as you press them, you just are programming them to do the different things in that you want it to do with Ecamm, for example. So Stream Decks are great. Now, I added more into the mix. So this one is a Stream Deck Plus. The difference between these two is that this one has dials, so I can control things like my mic levels on my mic in Ecamm. So I'm turning it down, turning it up. I can press the button to cycle through different things and control different levels there. But I also use these buttons up here to switch to my different profiles. So for example, over here, I've got some buttons, but if I press a button on here, it's going to change that to control something else. So as a productivity tool, I use it for window positioning, things like that on the screen, different setups, but pressing the buttons on this one changes what displays on that one. Pressing this button here is going to change it back again. Now, I do also have a pair of pedals just down there. So those are my Stream Deck pedals, so I can control things with those as well. But as I say, from the beginning, you don't need to have all of this stuff. Just any sort of camera that you've got these days are going to be decent. Get a decent mic, but definitely investing in a Stream Deck if you're doing recording is going to really help with that. All of the other stuff are just sort of nice to haves. The other thing that I would recommend putting on your list, especially if you're using this stuff in Zoom calls and so on, is something which was a real eye-opener for me when I did start using it, and that is a teleprompter. So over in front of me here, I've got a teleprompter, and basically what that is there's a screen just down here. So there's a screen there that is sort of horizontal, and that is reflecting up in this glass. You can see that we've got this glass here, and that basically just is reflecting off that. But behind that, somewhere in the darkness of behind the teleprompter, is a camera. And what that means is you're looking through the lens there, or I'm looking through the lens, but I'm actually seeing what is reflected from that screen. But that is how I'm doing this thing of I'm looking at you, but actually I'm seeing myself. I'm seeing the output. So it means that I can be sure that if I'm switching to a scene, I can know that I'm talking about, what's on that screen, and I don't actually necessarily have to look at the content itself to be able to see exactly where my mouse pointer is pointing. So the teleprompter is great. Now, when I'm in a Zoom situation using Ecamm for Zoom on a Zoom call, then what I have is I will have my guest on Zoom will be up there. So let's say it's a coaching call, for example, and I will see the other participant in that window, but then I'll have the second Zoom window down here. So when they do a screen share, I can see it down there. So from a coaching point of view, it's great to be able to be having that eye contact with people, just like we're having eye contact now, or at least you're seeing me. And then down below is where I've got the screen share. So it's really, really great for that. So having talked about Stream Deck, let me just go and check in with the chat once again so that I'm not neglecting everybody. Let's come back to here, and then I'll show you Stream Deck and how easy that is to set up, because that as well is a game changer. So yeah, Jason, as I mentioned, it doesn't need to be a roadblock to anything to think about all this, the stuff that I've necessarily got in my my studio. But that is what this is all about, GAS, the gear acquisition syndrome. It is this thing of it can either be a help or a hindrance. Some people don't actually start creating content because they feel like they need a certain number of things before they can make a start. So definitely avoid that. But then in terms of all the other stuff, it's just a case of being intentional and seeing where things that you can add are going to improve and add efficiency and things like that for your content. So let's come down here. Hey, Jeremy, great to see you here. Lawrence, when you were discussing the Ecamm for Zoom integration, you mentioned that you set a placeholder for the Zoom active speaker, and when someone in the audience asks a question, I see ZAS. I see the active speaker. How would that adding? Let me just see. Let me just get this question right in my head. So. Let me see if I've got that right. Simply unmute them and they'll show up in the Zoom active speaker. Question, would that happen without adding the... I beg your pardon. You are entirely right, Lawrence. Yes, let me completely correct what I said there. It is the fact that when you have somebody in as the Zoom active speaker, you are indeed correct that there's this thing that I mentioned where you can add people into the production. So yes, you would need to add them, just click on the add to add them into the production. The step that you wouldn't have to do would be once you add them, you wouldn't have to assign them to a specific placeholder. So yeah, what I said was incorrect. I said that, oh yeah, if you just unmute them, they'll show up. That's not technically true. You would have to add them here as well. So you're adding them into your production effectively. The way that this works is ordinarily you would add them and then you could assign them to a specific placeholder. So yeah, I was incorrect there. I've missed out a crucial step. So thanks for bringing that up, because yeah, that was not quite right. Let's come up to here and see what Rich is asking. Come out of this demo mode. How are you making demo mode small on that huge monitor? So the demo, I'm actually doing the demo on this monitor here. if I get my handy cam, all of my Ecamm stuff is over here. So I set up this this thing, which is kind of like my AV setup, and it's this portable monitor that's actually mounted to the arm. And I did a complete sort of jerry rigging event thing here, where I've basically got this monitor arm here that the Rodecaster is on, and then I just mounted this other arm that sort of comes out from the back of it. Where is it? Over there, and then that is what this monitor is on. So this then becomes my sort of movable sort of arm here that I can use to control Ecamm. So when I do my live demo mode, I'm effectively sharing this screen just here. One thing you need to make sure is you are actually clicked into Ecamm in that screen, but then when I do demo mode, you can see that it's sharing that screen right there. So that's how I'm doing that. Let's go back to those questions. Do you know what? I do this all of the time. I answer a question and then realize it's already just been already just been answered. So if I'd just gone to the next point, I see that you had already seen that. Hey Joanne, great to see you here. Yes, indeed, I am taking questions. So if you've got any questions, just feel free to drop them into the chat. I'm looking at Video Pencil app. There's different levels to buy it. It mentions Qcam as well. Please explain. So yeah, Wayne, there. If you go with the free version of Video Pencil, it has a watermark on it. If you go with the paid version, I forget the price. I think it's like $40 or $50 or something like that. It's a one-off payment. I totally value it for that. I think it's an excellent product, I should say. Now, Qcam combines a number of things. There is Video Pencil, which is for writing on screen. Michael Forrest also developed another app called Shoot, which is basically a way that you can use your iPhone as a webcam, and it transmits it wirelessly. So then he created he then created Qcam, which basically combines Video Pencil with Qcam with another product that he created, which was for actually it could control Ecamm Live, I think, if I remember rightly, and it's where you could create a whole run of show and then have it that when you went on to the next bullet point and topic and things like that, it would automatically change Ecamm. But then he rolled all of those into this thing called Qcam, which is something that I intend to do a full review on it. And he actually had a conversation with him about it, and he showed me a demo of it. I just haven't had the time, honestly, to get into it. But basically, Qcam allows you to do some things that are very similar to Ecamm, with setting up scenes and all of these kind of things, bringing in presentation content. And there's a number of automation workflows in there to help you with setting it up. So in some respects, it could be an alternative to Ecamm, but it also still has all of those features of being able to control Ecamm. And that's what I was really interested with it in, because I'm just so into Ecamm and what it can do for me. But there are certainly some features in Qcam that would make it a really good pairing. I just haven't had time to go and do the full in-depth tutorial, and I've literally only just had the sort of introduction to it from Michael himself, where we run through some of the features and things like that. But in terms of what I'm doing right now, all I'm using is the Video Pencil app, and that's what's allowing me to just sort of draw on the screen. And the way that it works is there's a thing called NDI, which is a video transfer protocol to allow you to transmit video over a network. And so this is obviously wireless, it's not plugged in, but because this is on the same Wi-Fi network as my computer, it's able to transmit the video wirelessly to the computer and to Ecamm. And Ecamm is also able to transmit the program feed from Ecamm out to the network as well. So what's effectively happening is, and let's just show you where this is in Ecamm itself. If I go back into my demo mode, up in the top here, we've got this output menu. And in the output menu, you can see you've got NDI Output, and I've turned that on. Now, I'm not really bothered about the quality of the feed coming out of Ecamm. So as you can see, I've just put it to its lowest feed there, because that's just what I'm seeing on my iPad. So I figured, well, might as well make it as low as possible so it's not using excessive bandwidth. Not that it probably would be using a huge amount. But that's how the program feed from Ecamm is being broadcast. And so I can then pick that up on the Video Pencil app, because you select the camera source and NDI feeds just show up as camera sources. So that's how I can just select my Ecamm camera source in here. And then Video Pencil itself then has in the settings, Video Pencil then has this option, where is it? Somewhere down here. Oops, if I go back into those settings, for, where is it now? Oh, it's down here, NDI Output. So if I go to the NDI Output there, then you just say that you want to send the signal 1080p. But what it's doing crucially is it's receiving the feed here, but it's only sending an NDI feed of just what you're actually drawing. So it's sending the NDI feed with a transparent background into Ecamm. And so that's the only thing that you see as I draw on the screen. You're just receiving the NDI feed of the transparent drawing into Ecamm. So that's how that works. So I'm not using anything on the desktop. By the way, if you're not an Ecamm user or not on a Mac, so can't use Ecamm, then this would just work similarly with OBS or other applications. But actually, Michael made this app so that it will work on its own. If you're in a Zoom call, for example, there is a desktop app that you can download along with the Video Pencil app, whereby you basically select your regular camera in the desktop app that you want to use within Zoom. It then passes that camera into here so that you can see your regular camera on this screen, but then it then creates a virtual camera that you use in Zoom that's basically your camera plus whatever's going on the screen here. So you can use this Video Pencil as a standalone app just with any camera going into Zoom, for example. So that is that. Hopefully that explains that difference. Wrong scene. There we go. So let's see where we are with these questions. Hey, Ernie. Not sure if you mentioned it, but how are you connecting your cameras to your Mac? That's quite a lot of different ways, actually. So let me just show you this thing first of all. If I go to, let's go to Amazon. It's the easiest place, isn't it? There is a thing from Elgato. Elgato make lots of cameras and things like that, but they also make these things called capture cards. So this is the way to connect the HDMI out of your camera. And here it is, Camlink 4K. You want to watch about this because I noticed somebody posted in the Ecamm group recently where they were talking about, oh, I've just got all the things that I need for my setup. I've got this light, the camera and whatever. And they included a snapshot of what they'd bought. And rather cheekily, this is the original Camlink 4K. You want to check that it looks like, in fact, is it? Let me just double check. Yeah, it is, from Elgato. But there's this other one that have cunningly called themselves Camlink 4K, and it's not from Elgato. I don't know who make this, but it's a generic one. Capture cards, there are some that are even cheaper, like there's this one for $14. These can be a little bit hit and miss. And the thing that I've heard about them is that you're not necessarily going to get consistent color accuracy from them, and there could be issues. I did actually try one of these cheap sort of dummy ones, not dummy, but cheap one, as a comparison when I'd got my original Elgato Camlink, and I bought it and it was basically dead on arrival. It just didn't work. So yeah, I would recommend going with the Elgato one. So this is the Camlink 4K here. I'll just grab this link in case you are interested. But what that allows you to do is you can see on one end of it, it's basically got the, let me just paste this. Whoops, I'll drop it into to here. It's basically got the HDMI on one end. I can't talk and type or even talk and paste at the same time, it seems. It's got the HDMI on one end and then it's got USB on the other. So that allows you to take the HDMI out of your camera and then have that going into your computer. So that's one of the ways that I'm connecting it. I've also then got a number of, well, there's this camera, which is the Neostream. This is a bit overkill for this. They sent me this for review and I had tested it on a previous live stream. The thing that is amazing about this is it's a 2K camera, but the reason why it's so massive is it's actually got a 10 times optical zoom plus a 4 times digital zoom. So you've effectively got a 40 times zoom. And I did a little demo where I sort of zoomed in to a tiny little dot on the back wall there. It's pretty amazing as a zoom. But this, as you can see, is just completely handheld. It's just got a little tripod on it there. But this is working wirelessly. And this is using that thing that I was talking about, which is NDI. So this is an NDI camera with a built-in battery and working wirelessly. And that is how I'm doing the thing of just being able to move it around like that and make everyone dizzy, no doubt, with that. So that is working over NDI. So then I've got a couple of other capture cards as well. So there is this camera over here. Whoops, there it is. This is the Elgato prompter. I talked about my teleprompter here. This is the Elgato Prompter, and this is all in one basically, so it comes with the display. I've got this one for testing. I personally still prefer my original Teleprompter, which is why I'm using that as my main one, just purely because of the size of it. If nothing else, this is a 9-inch screen. This is 12-inch, so it's a much more sort of usable thing for me. But in the back of here somewhere is a Sony ZV-1. Now that one has got, you can actually just take the output directly out of it, but I'm using here an Ava Media capture card that I've just sort of mounted underneath it, and this is just on my little rolling rig, so I can sort of move this around. So that's another capture card. The camera that I use over on this side here, which is the one that you can see me looking in now, this is a Obsbot Tiny 2, and that one just runs off USB, so that's a USB camera. My top-down camera here is an Obsbot Tail Air, so that's got a sort of pan tilt zoom going on it. That one I'm using the HDMI out of that, and that is going into another capture card. And then there's another camera which is just over on that back wall there, that purple light, and that is an Obsbot, and that is working over NDI. But these Obsbot Tail Airs, you can get a cable that comes with them that basically passes the NDI over Ethernet, so it's a better connection. So that one over on the back of my shoulder there is NDI over Ethernet. So there's lots of ways that you can connect things, and it's a case of figuring out what is the best use case. I mean, if you've got a camera that is on the other side of the room, then it's fine to use the wireless feature or that NDI feature, but that is generally how I'm connecting things. So a few different ways going on there. Let's just go to these comments again. So let's see your question. Joanne, been streaming for a few years with iMac using StreamYard, want to stream from a remote location now. What's the best portable device and how would Ecamm compare? So the difference between StreamYard and Ecamm is with StreamYard, obviously it's a sort of browser-based thing, and you are you've got a certain number of different scene layouts and things like that you can use. With Ecamm, it's a computer-based, it's desktop-based app, and you're streaming out directly from your computer. There's a couple of things to that. Potentially, with StreamYard, if you lose your connection, the stream could still be up, and then you can just jump back in. With Ecamm, if something happens and your stream goes down, or your network or power or something like that goes down, then potentially your stream could drop. Now, it will allow you to sort of rejoin afterwards, but that's just something to note, that if you've got multiple people on it, like guests and things like that, then there is that sort of thing. However, for me, it's just the versatility that you get with Ecamm that allows you to create much more a broader range of scenes and things like that. So when it comes to streaming from a remote location, if you've got a laptop, then Ecamm would still, obviously work for that. Incidentally, you can do multi-streaming with Ecamm. Not that you asked about that, but since that's something that I think StreamYard does multi-streaming as well, where you can stream to multiple platforms. Ecamm has that built in as well. Again, one difference there with multi-streaming from Ecamm is you're literally streaming out to every single destination from your computer. So bandwidth is a consideration there. If you're going to stream to 3 or 4 locations, you need to have the bandwidth to stream 3 or 4 times more than just going to one. So in terms of the portable device, there are also hardware devices. There is the ATEM Mini, which and the ATEM range, which I just personally, from all of the research I did when I was looking for an option and a solution, which is why I ended up using Ecamm. The ATEM, just for me, didn't have that same sort of user-friendly interface. The difference is with a hardware switcher, you are using something that's completely separate to your computer. So in theory, you can use it in isolation as well without the computer. But also it's a case of you're not sort of loading up your computer with, everything that's going on. Like right now on my computer, I'm having to encode the signal. I'm having to handle all the different video feeds coming in and all of that kind of stuff. So it can add to the load on the computer. So something like the ATEM would be interesting. I can't say anything, but there's another device coming out later on this year which might be an option. So you might want to hold off for a month if you're looking for a portable solution. I'll say no more. You'll hear all about it on my channel. But yeah, there is something else that's quite interesting that's coming soon. So yeah, if you were using a computer though, a laptop, then you could use Ecamm for anywhere. Other than that, ATEM at the moment is the go-to, but for me it's a little bit clunky, I believe. And thanks, Rich. That is the other one that related to Video Pencil and to the other one which we talked about, Qcam. BeatSheet was the other application, Wayne, that was by Michael Forrest, and BeatSheet is that one that allows you to create a run of show and then control Ecamm with it. So basically BeatSheet, Shoot, and Video Pencil were all rolled into Qcam, and then a load of new features were added into that as well. I found that the Camlinks would freeze if using any type of hub, even Thunderbolt 4, so I ended up buying a YOLO Box Ultra. Interesting that they've frozen. Yeah, I haven't had any issue with them freezing. And you mentioned something there about plugging into a hub, and all the manufacturers would say, don't plug our things into a hub. So, so like Stream Decks, they recommend plugging directly into your computer. The prompter here has got a display in it as well, and so it recommends not plugging that into a thing. But all of my things are plugged into hubs, and I haven't had any problem. So not that helps. I'm not saying that that's a thing, because obviously if you've had them freezing, then that is an issue. Now, when you say that you've ended up using a YOLO box, I do have a YOLO Live. What's the brand of it now? The InStream, which is the one for vertical video. The thing about any of these switches that are external. Oh, by the way, sorry, Joanne, that would be another option to look at, is that one, the YOLO Box Ultra. If you're looking for a streaming solution that is just completely portable. Thank you for mentioning that, Ernie, because it's just reminded me that would be a great one. YOLO Box. Let me just grab the link for that, because let me just grab this. Sorry, bear with me one second. The YOLO Box is basically an all-in-one streaming solution. And what that does is, whereas the ATEM, you don't have a screen, you have to have external monitors. The YOLO Box is actually here like this. So you've basically got 4 or 5, is that 5 inputs? Oh, perhaps one of them's an output. 4 video feed inputs, and then USB inputs, audio and things like that. And so this is basically an all-in-one device then that you can use to stream out in either vertical or horizontal. So they used to have the YOLO Box, and then they had the YOLO Box InStream, which was the vertical one. Whereas now the YOLO Box Ultra can do both horizontal and vertical. So if you want to stream to, Instagram or TikTok, then this can do it as well. And basically, this is an Android device in the internals of it, and that's how they're able to stream to Instagram, because you just open up your Instagram app, same with the TikTok app, and so from the app's point of view, it just thinks that you're streaming from an Android phone essentially. So that would be another one to consider there, Joanne, would be the InStream for remote, because the thing about it is it's all in one. You get to see the image on it, and you can run everything from there. Just plug in your camera. So yeah, that would be another great thing there. Just coming back to Ernie though, and as I say, thanks Ernie for mentioning that, because let me get that off there and put it back up here. With these external devices, that the YOLO Box Ultra, obviously great product, and it's an all-in-one with the display and everything. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, if we have got like an ATEM and we want to use that with Ecamm, how does that work, and is that a good solution? Because then you could have like all your cameras coming into the ATEM Mini, and then be potentially doing camera switching, and then have that feed into Ecamm. The thing to note about that, and I know this is not what you're asking specifically, Ernie, but the thing to note about that is that the ATEM is bringing in all of those camera feeds, but usually it's only sending out the output as HDMI. So if you were to go use that in conjunction with Ecamm, what you're going to end up with is just whichever camera you've got selected in the ATEM is what's going to go into Ecamm. Now, that could be all right. Maybe you've just got one scene set up, which is your 4 different camera angles, and then like you're switching with the ATEM like this. It becomes a little bit more tricky if you want to maybe have like this scene over here, but then you've got another scene which has got a different camera in it, like that, because you're only ever going to get the one core feed out of that. Again, I know that's not what you're asking, Ernie, but yeah, just thought I'd mention that because it's something that comes up. Could you use Video Pencil with, I've got to remember to switch to the right scene. Could I use Video Pencil with Switcher Studio? I would think so, yes, because I think Switcher Studio can have the fee come in. Let me just, am I right on this? Let me just, before I speak, get my facts straight. If this is, I've not used Switcher Studio, but yeah, it's the online. Is it browser based? Let me just check. It is browser based, isn't it? Yeah, so basically what you could do is you can use Video Pencil because you would be able to use the app that's built into, or that you can also download for Video Pencil, which is whereby it can pass your camera into Video Pencil first, and then it's going to take the combined feed of Video Pencil plus the annotation. So you could use it in any application, essentially, whether it's browser based or not, and have it come over the top of your camera. I don't know if you can do with Switcher Studio have like camera feeds over the top of each other. Otherwise, you certainly could do that as well if you could have like a transparent camera feed, and then it would appear like at the moment I can use it over the top of my entire screen if I wanted, so I could just sort of draw everywhere. That's because this is a camera feed sitting over the top of absolutely everything. If you are limited to just sort of selecting your camera, then you would be able to do the thing where basically it would just appear over the top of just your camera essentially. So there's certainly a way that you could use it depending on how camera Switcher Studio works. Depends on the level of integration that you could get with that. So Joanne, hoping to teach a class with combo of in-person and virtual Zoom attending. Do I need a MacBook or can I use an iPad possibly? You can use an iPad. There is another application, well, actually it doesn't go into Zoom necessarily. There's another application called Camo Studio for the iPad, which is kind of like, it's not an Ecamm equivalent, but it does similar thing to Ecamm, but it does run on an iPad, and that allows you to do things like stream. Now, I don't think you can actually take that feed into Zoom necessarily off there. But the Ecamm, certainly from a MacBook, would be a great way to do that, because you could use the Zoom integration to take, have a camera on you and be feeding that into Zoom. And then potentially also, you could have people from the audience coming out. And one of the things about Ecamm, if I just go back over to my Ecamm window for a second and show you, you have this thing called the camera switcher here. And this is where you've got all of the different cameras that are connected. But you also have the Zoom active speaker shows up in here. Now, one of the cool things you can do with this is you can click on any of these cameras and send it to any external monitor that you've got. So for example, this one here, I could say source video monitor. I could put that onto any of those monitors that I've got connected to my computer, aside from the monitor that I'm on right now, of course. So what you could do is, in a hybrid event situation, let's say you're using Ecamm for Zoom, you've got a camera on you that's got all your scenes set up in Ecamm, your slide deck that you've got put up potentially behind you on the screen in the live event. You could actually have that as a scene in Ecamm where you're basically just sharing that keynote or PowerPoint or whatever slide deck in as well. So you have a scene that, let's say it looks something like that, with you on one side, slide deck on the other. But that would be a way to present the slide deck to people if you've got a slide deck. But what you could then do is, if you've got people asking questions like in the audience, live audience, you could obviously have some sort of camera on them. So then you've got a scene set up, which is you and the audience member, so that the people in Zoom would see that. But then the great thing is you could use this little pop out here to say, okay, well, let's take the Zoom active speaker and put that onto an external monitor. And that external monitor could be, something that you've got on the stage next to you. So it means that when people ask questions from the Zoom event, they're going to be up on stage, and the people in the live event are also going to be able to see them. And you can do things like obviously share. I've got to stop saying obviously. It's not necessarily obvious, is it? But you can also share the gallery as well, create like a screen share of the gallery. And then you could have like the Zoom gallery so that people in the live event can see them, and vice versa. So there's lots of ways you could do it. And I think that, yeah, using a MacBook with Ecamm would be a really great use case there, and would certainly do that. And I think you probably find, depending on the event you're running, I think you'd find that it's going to be better production value using a MacBook than using the iPad. So let's keep going down here. Indeed, that does not look like the right Camlink. So yeah, that's what I saw. I didn't mention anything when I saw somebody post about it in the Ecamm group saying, "Yay, I've got all of the stuff," and they posted a link and it literally said Camlink, and I thought, oh, that's really cruel. Somebody would call it that, and yeah. It's a bit of a Wild West still on Amazon, I guess, isn't it? Yeah, Rich, they did, didn't they? The Camlinks. So the original Camlinks used to be $120, and they're like $49 now. So yeah, certainly come down a lot. And those are 4K capture cards, so they're going to last quite a long time. I know video technology is moving on, but certainly, yeah, they're going to be last a long time. Jeremy is saying the correct one on Amazon is 9502. Well, that's interesting because, yeah, the actual oh no, hang on, sorry, I say again, I made a mistake again. This one, so this looks like this is even worse. This one actually looks like the original Camlink. And it's saying Amazon Choice. That's sneaky, that is. Camlink 4K Amazon Choice, and it's not the Elgato one. That's not on, that isn't. I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to Amazon. I say, that's kind of terrible, because that actually even looks like, that's what it tricked me. It even looks like the Elgato one. And if you search for Elgato Camlink, let me just check. It does look like it though, doesn't it? He says, talking to himself. I'm just having a look here. That definitely looks like the original Camlink, but it's this different store, so I don't know why Elgato is not showing up there. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, it's the Elgato Camlink that you want. so let's keep going down these comments before I get totally derailed. Oh, thank you, Joanne. Glad you like the live shows. You know, it's funny, I started making videos on YouTube, and I did 6 videos a week, recorded videos, and 1 live stream. And the live stream always used to be the way that I sort of just check in with everybody and give an update on progress as I was trying to grow the channel and so on. And then what happened is I kind of stopped making recorded videos, and pretty much all my videos now are just live streams, and I just do them as if it is a tutorial from the outset. And I think last year I ended up only recording 11 videos and 50-odd live streams. So, there we go. I'm not in a hurry, and yes, I like the browser-based idea to keep from needing the latest and greatest. Yeah, the browser's option is certainly works. Let's see. Thanks, Rich. I'm just now seeing the the comments from Zoom, the backstage. Rich letting me know that that Camlink is a knockoff one. So thanks for that. I need to have a way to get those better. In fact, I should probably just put the Zoom chat window more prominently so I actually see that one separately. Anyway, let's go down here. Sean, great to see you here. Can you use Ecamm to record a video without internet connection? I'm assuming so. You know what? It's funny, isn't it? I'm doing all this stuff of talking about Zoom and live streaming. The very title of this video, this live stream, is how I record using Ecamm. And I've somewhat got sidelined from that. So the whole point was for me to show you that process. Absolutely, you can record without an internet connection. And that is totally what I do with Ecamm. So let me just catch up with myself and not get too carried away. I will come back and check in on the chat in a moment. If we go back to my live demo mode, at the moment I am streaming. So you can see at the top here, it tells me that we are live, been going live for an hour. And there's a button down here, which I'll move my mouse away from quickly, which is to finish. But there is another mode in Ecamm, which is just recording mode, just the record only. And when that is in force, then you've basically just going to have a button down here that says record. And indeed, you'll have a button on your Stream Deck. And so all of the stuff that I've been doing with pressing buttons to switch between different cameras and things like that, all of this stuff that I'm doing live now, the whole thing about Ecamm is it is live production software, whether it is a live broadcast or live to tape, as it were. No tapes involved, but you get the idea. And so that's essentially how I make the videos, is using all of the Stream Deck to do the camera switching. So I've got my different scenes set up, and so I can switch to those different scenes. Just like this, switch back to the main one. I've got an end scene, which I won't press because it will end the stream as well. But you can have all of those different things queued up. And then when you come to record the video, you're just doing the switching. And there is then a button on Stream Deck. If I just bring up Stream Deck, I can show you how easy this is to work with. So let me come out of my demo mode. Just down here, is the Stream Deck app. And basically what you're seeing is that what we've got showing on Stream Deck here is a duplication of or correlates with what we've got on the Stream Deck. So here are the actual buttons here. And then if I just go back to that other scene, you'll see that those are the same buttons that you were just looking at on the Stream Deck. So all we do in Ecamm, let me just create a new profile. Over on the right-hand side here, this is where we've got all of the different functions of Ecamm. So all of these different things here are different things that we can control with Ecamm. So go live, or start recording, pause. So you can actually pause it. So some people might want to refer to notes or something like that as they're going through and creating the video. So you could totally start recording, deliver your introduction, press pause, have a think about what you were going to say next, maybe cue some content up or whatever, and then press the pause to resume again. And the point is, you're going to get like a single video file output that is, you know, completely all in one with all of that stuff in place there. So yeah, that's how I start recording, is use the record button, and then you've just got these things for the different scenes. So if I go to run scene, where is it here? And I just literally drag and drop that onto any one of those buttons, it's going to automatically pull in this particular scene. But what you'll see is if you open this drop down here, you've just got a list of all of the different scenes that you've got in Ecamm. So if I click on this one, for example, then it's going to take me back to that main scene, and even gives you a little preview of what the scene looks like as well. So if I press that button now on my Stream Deck, then it's going to take me back to that scene. So that's how you sort of program it. It's really straightforward to just add those things in, and then you've got lots of other things in Ecamm, like if you've got a scene set up with video that you just want to roll the video in your production, you can do that. All sorts of other different things, triggering overlays and things like that. So if I wanted to say something like, if you're enjoying this content, or if you want some more help with Ecamm, then you can book a consultation call with me, and I press a button just like this. It's going to, hopefully, if I bring this thing up, I think I might have actually moved these things out of the way. Let me try that again, shall I? I'm just talking about how slick this is, and then it doesn't work. There we go. So that's basically just an animation that I'm triggering with the Stream Deck. So you can have all sorts of sort of calls to action throughout the video. If you want some other help, you can check out the Discord channel. So pressing a button there. All of these are just buttons that I've got on Stream Deck. And what you'll notice in the live stream is it's also posting these as chat messages as well, because that's another thing that you can do in here, as well as activating an animation. So this is where you can select any animation that you've got in your thing. So it's just going to take the top one. So if I press this button, it's this little digital stage animation. Like that. So I'm just sort of triggering that to come out. And then other things you've got in here is post comment. So I can just drag and drop this in here and say, this is a pre-written comment. And now as I press that button, it's just going to paste that into the chat. So you can set up things like that in here as well. But again, I'm coming back to talking about live streaming. The point is, though, the skills that you learn from live streaming are the exact ones that you use for recording videos, and vice versa. So if you start recording videos using Ecamm as live production software, then it allows you to take that all the way into your live streams and into your live Zoom calls and so on. So that's the sort of process that I've got. Just to talk about some of the other windows in Ecamm, because we started off with a completely sort of blank screen. The other things that I've added in so far, we've got the camera switcher. You've already seen this one, which is the sound levels, but this is where you can control audio and things like that. I've got the zoom window. Whoops, I'm not sharing it. I beg your pardon. There we go. Here we go. Let's start that again. Here's the camera switcher. This one shows you the cameras that you've got attached. This is sound level, so I can see my mic and other levels in here as well. This is the zoom window if you're using Ecamm for Zoom, but if you're not, you can just close that window down. We've got interview mode. Personally, I just don't use interview mode at all now that we've got Ecamm for Zoom, because Zoom's a much more familiar environment for people. So let's just close that one down. You've already seen the chat window though, so that's where we're seeing the chat coming in. A couple of other windows that you've got then here are, you've also got sound effects. So if I click on that one, this is a sound effects window, so you can have all sorts of music, background music, things like that, and just trigger those from here. But of course, all of this can be triggered with Stream Deck as well. So then also in here, you've got this one, which is the camera effects. This is where you can do things like, if I change to my camera, you can adjust things like the brightness, contrast, color temperature, all of those sorts of things. You can also change the framing. So if you're not quite framed right, you can make adjustments to that and sort of move the framing around. And there's also a really great green screen function within Ecamm. So the thing that lets people down in green screen is if you've been into any Zoom meetings where somebody's using a virtual background, it's the ability for Zoom to remove the background. Now, even when you use Zoom's actual green screen feature where you say, I have got a green screen, the way that it sort of keys out that background is still not at all great. And so you end up with it not looking the best, basically. But Ecamm's one is a really professional quality green screen keying so that, yeah, you can get a really great result. The other thing that lets people down with green screen isn't just not having good lighting and so on. But anyway, that aside, it's got a great green screen feature. Other things then in here, I've mentioned the chat window. This is interview mode, and we've got the Zoom window there. But you can see that you don't actually need to have all of these things open. I tend to leave, certainly on a live stream, tend to leave my overlays window and scenes open as well, because I just want to, you know, if something were to happen with Stream Deck, I want to have that control there. But in theory, you could close that down. You could close that down and close the camera switcher. So if you've not don't have as much screen real estate, then this is a great way to just sort of slim down the thing. I would recommend leaving the sound levels on though, just to make double sure that, you know, when you speak, it is registering here, because I've done entire videos where I didn't have a sound on it. So I made that mistake once and then thought, you know what, I'm probably going to leave this one open all the time. So that is the interface of Ecamm and how easy it is to record with. I do just want to talk, though, again, about the Ecamm Live Masterclass, because as I say, this is a completely free and comprehensive masterclass covering everything you need to know about Ecamm and how to get from absolute beginner all the way through to expert level. So I want to just quickly show you what that looks like, because I think that it is going to be a really sort of valuable resource if you are an Ecamm user. And the way it looks when you go into the course, you can get free instant access just by going to the link in the description or in the chat as well, of course. The way that it looks is like this. And one of the things that I've changed in this version of the Ecamm Live Masterclass, because this has been completely updated since the version that I released, I guess, 2.5 years ago. What I did with this version is I appreciate that sometimes it can be a bit daunting going into a course that's got, you know, 20 modules, 150 lessons. And sometimes people think, you know what, I just actually want to get up and running with this and then kind of figure it out. So what I did was I added in a load of quick start guides. So the very first thing that you see, apart from the introduction, when you go into the course is over here, you'll see that there are these quick start guides. And with those, you've got basically an introduction to the UI. I mean, similar to what I've been talking about here, you know, sort of figuring your way around, but obviously a bit more structured than this. Quick start guide, navigating Ecamm, introduction to scenes and overlays and what they can do, talking about audio and cameras, and then screen sharing. So basically a quick video on each one of them, introducing all the different functions, and then going into things like recording with Ecamm, live streaming with Ecamm, online meetings with Ecamm, and introduction to Ecamm for Zoom. So basically, if you just go through these, what is it, 3, 6, 9, 12, 18, let's say 18 videos. If you just go through those first 18 videos and you're completely new to Ecamm, you will be totally up and running and able to do the sorts of things that I've already just shown you here today, because it is really easy to use and really flexible. But then there is obviously a lot more potential depth that you could go into with Ecamm. And so that's why we've then got all of these other modules. And so there's all these lessons then on overlays, a whole load of lessons on creating scenes. As we go further down, you know, using Ecamm for Zoom, using it for live streaming, online meetings, for presentations and all of those things. I then go into talking about on-screen skills as well, go through all the menus and settings. And so really, as you go through this, you're going to find it is the complete total masterclass on everything Ecamm. And you can also get into the modules from here. So if you just want to go into like that Ecamm quick start guide, you can either get to it from the menu on the side, or you can click in here and you'll see all of the different lessons. There are downloads with some of these as well. So you'll find links to external products and services and things like that that work really well with Ecamm. In fact, I've got a whole section in here which is specifically about other applications, useful software and services. So these are other useful software and services that work really well, sort of hand in hand with Ecamm, and I sort of introduce all of those things throughout. So that is the Ecamm Live Masterclass. I also, with this course, which is something different to my other courses, is that I created this sort of gamification of it. So as you go through, you'll see that there are these different badges that that you can unlock as you go through from rookie, pro, master, and expert. But then also as you complete things like the audio section, presentation section, there are these different badges that will all start out grayed out to begin with, but then as you go through the course, they will unlock. So to help with that sort of little motivation of you sort of going through and completing the content. But as I say, yeah, it is a complete masterclass. And just once again to reiterate, this is completely free. It will always be free, and there is no catch. The reason why it's free is because I do have a number of other courses available, and it is my hope that some people may go through this course and think, you know what, this guy knows how to make courses and I like learning from him. Perhaps some of his other courses are up to this same standard, and so then maybe some people might want to just click here to go through and take a look at those other courses that I have to offer on things like YouTube, Rodecaster, Stream Deck, Keynote, and then the other thing then that people may be interested in is that I do have my digital Stage Academy. Doors are currently closed, but you can join the waitlist. I'm having a big launch event for that in September, and so that is a subscription-based academy where we have weekly Q&As, office hour sessions, workshops, and all of those kind of things, and you get access to all of those courses. So no doubt there will be some people who do the Ecamm Live Masterclass and also think, maybe I want to take my learning and Ecamm is the foundation of it, but there are other things that I want to do. And maybe for those people, the Academy will be something that they want to consider. So that is just being totally transparent about why it is that it is free, because I see it as a lead into all of my other things for those who want to do it. But there is absolutely no obligation, and I hope you find it really, really useful. So let me just check in with the chat once again. And I'll come over to here. So I think I've skipped forward in my chat. So, so the point was, can you, oh, I've gone too far. Let's have a look. Wow, I must have zoomed right on. So the question was, can you record video with Ecamm? Yes, indeed, that is it. That's what we've just covered. So thank you for that question, because yeah, I was going off track slightly. So you have one or multiple hubs plugged into your MacBook. If so, how many Camlinks? These questions, because I'd love to do everything in Ecamm, but I've had 3 to 4 Camlinks and I can't use them because they freeze. I have got a, let's see. I've got a CalDigit Element Hub. CalDigit Element. Right. So this is kind of my setup. So this is the hub that I've got, the CalDigit Element Hub. That allows me to plug in 3 USB-Cs or Thunderbolt and 4 USB-As into that CalDigit, and I'll just post a link to that. I've pretty much got all of the heavy lifting going on with that one device. CalDigit Element Hub is the name for those watching on the replay. CalDigit Element Hub. Now, in that, I've got my Rodecaster Pro 2 has got 2 channels that are going in over USB. So that is going in into those 2. In these ones, I've got a Stream Deck Plus, Stream Deck Plus, which is the one with the dials, 2 Stream Deck XLs. In this USB-C here, that is powering my screen off my Elgato Teleprompter. So the one that they say has to definitely be plugged into the computer. And all of the reviewers who reviewed the prompter said, yeah, the prompter is the one thing you do have to plug into your computer. BS. It's plugged into there on mine. And then I've got one other USB-C, which is, I think I've just got that as a free one. But basically, I've got 3 Stream Decks, my Rodecaster, 2 channels, and the Elgato Prompter plugged into this one thing, and it's working seamlessly. I do also have another thing, which is the Wavelink dock. And the Wavelink dock I'm using, let me just find this one. Because as you can see, I've got quite a few monitors plugged in, and it's this one. And what the Wavelink dock allows me to do is plug in multiple monitors, where the limit on my MacBook is actually 4. Sorry, it's actually 2. So I'll put this in here as well. If I can type and talk, Wavelink dock, or Wavelink. This is ridiculous. How can I not type the word dock? But anyway, so what that is for is that the MacBook is down here, and I have got an external monitor plugged into HDMI, and that is, which one is that? That is this one. So this monitor here is plugged in over HDMI into there. But then I've got a vertical monitor over here. There's nothing on it at the moment because I shut it all down. But this is usually where my like calendar, mail, and communication apps are. So when I'm actually working, I'm working at this monitor, and this is my extra monitor. So this monitor and this one are plugged into the Wavelink dock. And what that allows me to do is it uses actually the same technology as the teleprompter uses, which is called Display Link. And Display Link is the technology that basically it's an app that runs on your computer, and it allows you to plug in extra monitors. And you want to look for that sign there, the one that says Display Link. It will be displayed on the device. There are other ones that do it as well. But that's the other dock that I've got then. And so that gives me 2 HDMIs. Well, actually, you can either use HDMI or DisplayPort. And then I've also got the USB-Cs on it there, and USB-Cs there, and USB-C at the bottom. The Elgato pedals, which I'm using, the Stream Deck pedal, they are plugged into the back of this, my main monitor. I realize I'm talking about Stream Deck, but you're asking about Camlink. The Camlinks are in fact plugged into this one. Sorry, I got a sideline with Stream Deck. These ones are plugged in, the Camlinks are plugged into this one. Yeah, do I have one plugged in? I might have one plugged into the CalDigit Element Hub as well. But yeah, the Camlinks are in fact plugged into this one. And as I say, I've got 2 Camlinks, and then the other capture card, which is on the back of my prompter, is actually the Ava Media Live Streamer Cap 4K. So that's another capture card that I use. Yeah, another option if you are wanting to plug in multiple Camlinks. So you mentioned 3 or 4 and they freeze. If you mean you've got 3 or 4 different things that you want to plug in simultaneously, the other thing that you might consider is this Black Magic, what's it called? Decklink. That's it. Decklink Quad 4K. Now this is a card, but what it is, you need an enclosure with it, but I'll show you how this looks. I'm going to just type this in. Decklink Quad 4K. There we go. Right. So what this is, it is a PCI card, and it has on it 4 HDMI inputs. Now it's $545, but compare that to Camlinks. If Camlinks, I think they're about $90 now, $100 now, rather than that knockoff one that I showed earlier. So it's basically, it still is slightly more expensive than using Camlinks, and you do need an enclosure for it because this is obviously a card. But what you can do is get an enclosure that allows you to put these in, these external cards, and use Thunderbolt. And then you've got 4 HDMI inputs. And the advantage of this is, one thing that can happen with Camlinks is that the computer sometimes gets them mixed round. It forgets which is which. So in Ecamm, then you might have a scene set up with Camlink 1 and another scene set up with Camlink 2. And then you come into it the next day, having switched everything off and started it up, and then suddenly they've switched themselves back around again. So yeah, but you can fix that with Ecamm with placeholder cameras. But anyway, so this is a way to get multiple HDMI feeds into your computer, and they are all recognized as individual feeds as well. As I say, you would need some sort of enclosure there. So let me just type in here. We'll put in something like Sonnet Echo. Whoops. In fact, it actually shows you. There you go. So that would be the case. So if you've got that, and then this case down here, this is the Sonnet Echo case that allows you to plug in the cable, the card into the back, and then it's got a Thunderbolt cable on the back, so it's powered, and then it's got a Thunderbolt cable with it. And if you look on the back of the case, that's where the Thunderbolt cable then connects to your computer. I think it's got a pass-through as well if you're going to daisy chain it with some other things. But that would be the combination. Would be that one with the Decklink there. And that's something that I keep meaning to add into my setup just from a testing point of view. But it's kind of that thing of everything's working at the moment. So why do I want to do that just for the sake of it when, it's a potential cause for gas, the key acquisition syndrome. So yeah, it's not something I've added into my setup. But there's a new product coming that's going to be really interesting that could well be worth looking at in about a month's time. Let's go back to this. And yeah, that is the big point there, Jeremy. Quite right for you to ask that. So when Ernie was talking about having issues with them freezing, is to make sure that you have got a dock or a hub that is powered, that you've got enough power to power these things. So yeah, definitely make sure. And Ernie's saying yes, he went all out. So yeah, it's weird that it is freezing. Yes, I like the idea of what I'd like to do. Silly question. Could the external monitor be a smart TV? You know what? It probably could, because let me think. This is going back to the point I was making about being able to send it to an external device. Does Ecamm see those external things? If it's possible to connect to it as a display from Ecamm, from your Mac, I think it should show up. I probably need to test that. Source video monitor. I think if you've got it as a display where you're doing like AirPlay type thing, and you can AirPlay to that TV, I think that it would show up indeed in that that thing that I talked about, where you can send to an external monitor. I'll have to check that and test that, because yeah, it would just basically be any monitor that shows up in here. So you could potentially have it going to an AirPlay thing, I think, but I might be wrong about that. I'll have to test that one out. Let's see. I'm getting way ahead now. Hey Joanne, thanks for all your help. I've got a lot to consider and don't want to overspend on tech, but want to underbuy for what I will need. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's a case of just understanding what the need and use case is, and then just adding the things in that you actually need, and doing it in a considered way. Let's see. Thanks, Jeremy, for helping out and troubleshooting with the thing. Love Ecamm is so easy to use, record, and that's it. Record and done. I mean, I cannot really sort of understate what a transformational effect Ecamm has had for me. Just to give you a bit of a backstory, generally, the reason why I was starting to use Ecamm was because I wanted to create videos for course content for something completely separate to TAKEONETECH. And I was continually frustrated with myself in the way that I was creating videos, because I would constantly have to do multiple takes because of my perfectionist tendencies. I would take it into editing software. I was not a great editor, and so it would take me ages to edit it together. It never felt natural. It never had the effect that I was looking for in terms of, just it just wasn't good quality stuff, quite frankly. And I thought, well, I've got no problem sitting down and talking to a friend or a colleague or a family member or whatever, and showing them. I found that I'm often people's go-to tech expert, the people I know. So why can't I just do something more conversational, or like if I'm presenting on a stage, for example, just do something the same as I would do there. And so I was looking for a way to do this in one take, with no editing. And I found OBS first. I went down the OBS route, and it just didn't work for me. I didn't find that it worked in the way that my mind works. I found it was a bit clunky, and there was a few other issues that I had with it. And then I just happened to be watching Mac Break Weekly, which is a podcast that I love to watch, and they had this guy on there called Doc Rock. Who's that guy? And he was just talking about Ecamm. And I think this might have even been before he started working for Ecamm, first as the community manager, and then now he's elevated to what's it now? I forget the exact role. But anyway, so it was Doc, and it was him that was talking about Ecamm. And I thought, oh, let me just go and check that out. And when I found it, I was just like, oh, this is the answer. This is what I've been looking for. And it was only through using Ecamm to create videos. And I thought, well, let me start a YouTube channel to practice the process of making videos in one take with no edits. And that's where TAKEONETECH started, was for me to just a little test bed for me to try it out. This has then grown into a whole channel, and indeed a whole business in its own, because one thing that kind of took me by surprise in the best possible way was the fact that once you master this idea of live production in live videos, live streaming, live events, live production quality in a regular Zoom meeting. Those things just blew me away. I was just like, oh, I'd never even considered that as an option. And it's only when, you know, as I say, starting to practice the process that became, you know, obvious to me, as it has done to so many other people, and indeed the developers for giving us that potential there. So yeah, it's been really great. Another thing about the developers there is, you know, some people think there's a huge, massive team behind Ecamm. It's literally just two guys, Ken and Glenn, twins, and they are so responsive and listen to the community. And that's another thing about Ecamm, is just the Ecamm Live communities. So I'm guessing if you've got this far through this video, you probably already know. But anyway, but the Ecamm fam, the Ecamm community is just such a warm, inclusive, friendly, supportive community to be a part of, that everyone's just rooting for one another, and we're all there to help each other out. That was another reason for it being a total no-brainer for me to make the Ecamm Live Masterclass a completely free course, because it's just a way to give something back to the community that's been so supportive of me. So let's have a look at these comments. I've got to keep remembering to switch to this scene. When recording a presentation in PowerPoint, Keynote, screen sharing the presentation in window, is there a way to see presenter notes as well? Yeah, there is actually. So with Keynote, what you have, if I just open Keynote up, where's that opening? Oh, I bet I know where it is. Let me just open this. I'll just open a new dummy presentation. Very suitable for me. So let's go into here. I'll just do it this way. So here I am in Keynote. Now, if I was going to play this presentation in window, so the point is you click on, well, first of all, you go to play in window rather than full screen. But let's say I've done that, go to play like that. So now we've got this. And the point that we're making is this can be shared. So let me just show you how easy this is. If you're going to do a screen share, show scenes window, show overlays. Let's just create a new scene. Don't want to duplicate that one. Let me try this again. I'll create a new scene. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to have my Keynote here, and I will add a screen share. I will get to your point, I promise, in just one moment, but I just want to demonstrate how easy this is. So let's go to Keynote, and let's change the aspect ratio, 16:9. And let's put this here. So let's say we've got a slide deck. Let's say we're going to do a traditional presentation, but we just want to include our camera into it as well. Then we can just stick our camera on here like that. And we can put that up there. Well, I've got two of those. There we go. And let's change the aspect ratio to maybe a custom, and we'll put it like that. So already, just like that, you can see that we've got, okay, there's nothing in this presentation, but you can see how it's been put into Ecamm, and we've quickly and simply set up a scene where you're going to be talking to your slides. However, that wasn't the question. The question was, can you see speaker notes? And it's basically up here in the top corner. You'll see that there are these two little dots here, or two little screens. So clicking that one is going to show you the presenter notes. So now you could have your presenter notes down off to one side, and you could have your Keynote presentation off the other one. One thing to note about that, you'll notice there's something a little bit weird going on in Ecamm, and that's because we, remember, set it that we wanted to share the Keynote window. But now there are two Keynote windows, and it's essentially trying to fit them both in. So all you would have to do is go back into that screen share there, and then go down to where it says show what, and we had show Keynote. But now what you'll see is if you go to Keynote, you've got two things. You've got the presenter display, but also that untitled, which is the name of the file. So clicking on that, you'll see is going to, whoops, did I do that? Oh, there we go. Yeah. So you can see now it's only sharing that thing. It's only sharing the presentation again, but we still do have our presenter notes. There is something similar in Keynote, in PowerPoint. I can't remember the exact step involved in that, but there is something very similar in that where you can still pop it out even when you are viewing it in a window. So hopefully that answers that question. Very cool that the lower thirds are also adding to the YouTube comments. So that, yeah, that's what I did with that is that means that when I'm popping those little calls to action up, like, you know, if you want to book a call, then click this button wherever it is. I'm pressing the wrong button on my Stream Deck now. Everything flows so smoothly unless you're trying to demonstrate just how smoothly it flows. But yeah, if you want to book a call, then what's happening for those that are watching on the replay, as well as this appearing on screen, it's also posting a comment into the chat. And so the way that I'm doing that is I've just set up a multi-action, and then in Ecamm, I'm showing and hiding an overlay, but also posting a comment. So in fact, what I'm doing is playing an animation. So I can play one of my animations, the lower thirds, but then in the paste a comment, I can give my call to action just down here. And so it does those two things together. So when I press one button, it is then actually doing a couple of things. So that's another great use of Stream Deck for the live. Let's have a look. I just scrolling too far down my chat. So let me have a look. I saw Keely's comment first. Keely's comment was, Joanne, do you really have to ask? And now I see the question it was referred to. Did I create Ecamm to create the course? Yes. So that was, as I mentioned, it was the way that I got into Ecamm was for creating course content. And so all of my courses, I've got courses on Stream Deck, on Ecamm, on Rodecaster, on a number of other things that you can find on my my channel as well. And yeah, everything is made with Ecamm using this this sort of one take methodology. So I just have an outline of the course, and then I just go through systematically, record the video, end it, go on to the next one and do that. And I'm just cycling through them all, just doing them all in there in that way. So, oh, thank you very much for the feedback. So thank you. You are so generous, Alec. I purchased the Stream Deck Masterclass. Very professional. Congratulations. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed the course, and I hope that you find the updated Ecamm one just as useful. Let me see where I'm up to with the chat then. I am indeed. That's a polite way of saying it. Such a gadget and gizmo guy. But yeah, coming back to the point I made earlier, though, you can totally record a course entirely in Ecamm using the built-in camera on your Mac. Just get it up to the right height so it's framing you properly, and then arguably go and buy a decent mic. But you can do everything with Ecamm that I'm talking about. You don't need to have all of this stuff. I've got a bit of an obsession about it, so that's why I end up having all of this stuff. The other thing is, when you get to having a tech YouTube channel, people start sending you stuff as well. So I probably wouldn't have gone out and bought a handheld camera that gives me 40 times zoom, but now that I've got it, I'm using it in my studio. So yeah, you can certainly use it, use what you have. Yeah. And so yeah, Ecamm is the secret sauce in all of this. And I've got to mention my the Digital Stage Academy, and that is all about not just the tech side of stuff, but it's also about the business side of stuff, of growing a business using live video. So I'm all about helping you look better and be more professional and impactful with tech on your digital stage, being able to deliver your maximum value. But really, Ecamm is the underpinning of it all. It's what I highly recommend to everyone. So yeah, Ecamm's the foundation of everything that I talk about, for live events, for courses, for content, for meetings, for coaching, for everything. I'm a total Ecamm fanboy, but it's only because because it works. Hey there, Rob. Great to see you here as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, lots more cameras are doing the USB output. You're completely right, Jeremy. Incidentally, I mean, the Sony ZV-E10 that I use here, technically that can do an output from the USB-C as well. But I use the HDMI out and then the USB-C for power. So that's why I'm doing that. But you're right. Loads of people are doing this one actually as well. So although this is an NDI camera, it too has USB out, so you can just plug it in as USB. Same with the OBSBot that I've got above me. That one also works with USB as well, so you're dead right there. Oh, cool. So you're training somebody else in Ecamm and brushing up my knowledge for your masterclass. Oh, with your masterclass. Great to hear that. By the way, here's a little thing that I'm I'm doing. So I've got my own affiliate program. So there is the TAKEONETECH affiliate program. You can find a link to sign up in the description of this video. Now, the thing that I always have with affiliate programs is sometimes people may feel a little bit awkward about, pushing other people's paid content, maybe. And I use the word there because, that is in, putting it into some context of the way people might think about it. Maybe they don't feel comfortable about recommending people to go and buy something. The thing about the affiliate program that I'm running is that I want to give people as many free resources that they can share as possible. So the Ecamm masterclass is something that you can use your affiliate link to share out this free resource. So if you know this person and they're, they themselves are wanting to use Ecamm, get your affiliate link set up, send them a affiliate link to the masterclass after you've done all of your training with them. But then the point is that after they've done the training, if they go on to make one of those purchases of the other courses, because as you'll see as you go through the course, I do talk about my other products and services, then my affiliates still get the revenue commission from all of those upsells that happen after the fact. So that might be something to consider as well, because then you'll be able to give them some extra value by saying, hey, by the way, there's this other course as well that might help you too. Let's have a look. That would be important because the classroom facility just purchased the TV. Oh, that was about the wireless to whatever. Oh, thank you, Sean, for the super chat. That is much appreciated. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you very, very much. Happy to have been able to help, and thanks for the super chat. I should have some sort of confetti or something. I feel like I'm missing a trick here. I need to have some sort of confetti. So anybody who leaves a super chat or super thanks or whatever is going to trigger it. But yes, I'll have to set that up. So thanks again, Sean. Joanne, like the one take idea, splicing multiple takes and edits is tedious. Been there, done that. Yeah, especially when you're dealing with on-screen talent like me. I don't know what it is about delivering it live. For me, felt completely different than feeling like I had the option to edit it. Because if I felt like I could edit it after the fact, then I would constantly be trying to retake and get the perfect take. And yeah, so it was. I think back to the struggle that I had spending literally weeks creating a couple of videos. It's quite funny, but yeah, Ecamm has solved all of that. Well, I hope that has been useful. It is 6:43 here, nearly time for the kids' school run in the morning because I'm in northeast Thailand. Hope you have found this useful though, and hope it's given you just an idea of. I mean, I've spent 2 hours here, but obviously the first few minutes you saw how quick and easy it was to actually create these scenes, get up and running, and you don't need to have all the stream decks, you don't need to have all the monitors and things like that, just your regular Mac with Ecamm on it, and then you can use keyboard shortcuts to switch scenes if you don't want to get a stream deck. I would recommend getting a stream deck though. That is the one piece that you will not regret getting, but it's really an amazing piece of software, and it can really speed up the entire process of creating video content. So if there are any further questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. If you're watching on the replay, you can drop them into the chat. But another great place is to just head over to the Discord and drop them into there. And I will try to get to those in there. But the benefit of that is they're more sort of public and people can see and ask questions as well. So yeah, great for that. Oh, let me share this. So thank you very much. This is literally just popped up. It must have been at this time, but here we go. Mr. Moderator celebrates 25 months of membership. What a journey it's been. Fun to be a part of your journey too. Thank you so much, Paul. You have indeed been there right from the start. I never forget and always appreciate when I started the channel and I had my little website. I was constantly having some little comments and feedback and things like that from Paul to really help out with that. So really appreciate all of your support along the way too. Great to have you as part of this as well. You're welcome, Joanne. Great to see you here. Let me know how you get on with everything as well. It'd be great to know how your event goes because, yeah, this is great for Ecamm's great for all of the events and stuff. So I'm glad you glad you found this useful. And yeah, don't forget to check out the free Ecamm Live Masterclass. So with that said, thanks everyone for being here. Look forward to seeing you in another live stream very soon. I'll leave a link to some of my Ecamm stuff over on the right hand side. And as always, thanks to all of my channel members, and also a big thanks to Sean as well for that super chat today. Much appreciated. Have a great day. See you next time.